What is up, everyone, and welcome to week 6 of the regular season. My name is Nelstar15, and I am your host. And as always, I am joined by Anthony, aka BigAntsGaming, and coming back this week, Nate, aka Nathanias. Welcome, both of you. How are you? How are your weeks? How was your weekend? How was football for you?
Well, it was a good week. You know, just like the Jets, I kind of had a bye, so sorry that I missed out, but I'm back, and hopefully to bring you many more great tales of underdogs that will probably not end up winning, but you could be on the losing side with me and believe anyway. That's how I'm feeling. Good to be back.
Heck yeah, Anthony, how you doing?
We all right.
Okay,
Best I can do.
we gonna talk about it later.
Yeah, we had another bye week, so I mean, it's really not a lot to talk about.
All right,
Bye
all
week.
right, all right. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Panthers had a bye week too. Let's not talk about that. Sam Darnold decided that this was a good week to like put blinders on, so he couldn't see. He was like, "All right, so if I play this game blind, how am I gonna do?" And almost won the game. So, and it's a cool little experiment. Cool little experiment. Anywho, we're gonna hop right into this. As always, we're kicking it off with fantasy football. I know Anthony doesn't really want to talk about fantasy anymore.
Nope.
And
Why you
then,
laughing?
Anthony, what's your record right now?
It's on the bye week. I'm on the bye week in fantasy as well. Like, I actually about to delete the app because I don't need it. Nope. Basketball season.
Yeah, I think I'm in about the same place. Once again, you know, I like to think that I'm doing good things with my life. I've got DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and I still get blown out by like 50 points. So I've got nothing. I've got nothing left, man.
No. And then we can celebrate my wins. Let's just go ahead and talk about it.
Cheers to that.
The Rare Drop Sports Fantasy League continues, and apparently I've been christened the villain of the league because your boy is 6-0. I am undefeated. I'm the last remaining undefeated team. I think everybody's gunning for my head now, but I just want to remind everyone, and if you've ever played sports, you know this. The only stat that matters is the win column.
Yep. Yeah.
Very true.
What's that?
Yeah. W's?
Yeah. With.
The Dolphins got one of them.
Oh, come on, man. They were on the bye since.
Wait, we got a 3-way tie for second place in the division at this point. Okay, look, there's some silver linings out there. All right, the Pats and the Bills both lost. The Bills game especially, you know.
Yeah.
We'll get there, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No, fantasy was fun. We got some people to talk about. To give you guys a little bit of advice. I picked out a sleeper. I actually did some research on fantasy this week. Because it was a wild ride, and my team. I'm basically streaming players at this point to stay undefeated. Because people are just getting hurt, or defenses are falling apart. But one of those players that's falling apart for me is Julio Jones. Julio last night in the Monday night game against the Bills left in the third quarter with re-injuring his hamstring, it seems. Is it time to move on from Julio? He missed 2 games, came in, only had 3 catches for 60 yards. At this point, it's not Julio anymore. Doesn't look like he's a wide receiver 1 or 2 in any league.
Yeah, I don't know. Then you see that catch that he made last night. You get that
catch of
feeling.
the year.
You're thinking that the magic's gone, right? It's just the little embers left, or whatever Dark Souls reference you want to go with. But then you get that heated moment of passion out of Julio Jones, where he reminds you of all the greatest things he's ever done. But yeah, no.
Averaging 7 points a game just isn't going to cut it in a flex position. So in our league, we have 2 receivers, 1 running back, and a flex. I have 4 offensive players, and Julio just is not worth it, I think, at this point in 12-man leagues.
Unless he can be moved to tight end, then he's one of the top tier tight ends in fantasy. And I mean, you know, the older you get as a wide receiver, sometimes you just need to go inside the line and play tight end. He might be a good tight end.
Yeah, so speaking of tight ends, Dawson Knox for the Bills got hurt on Monday as well. Now granted, okay, so they have a backup tight end in Tim Sweeney, who did really well last year whenever he was given his play time, but didn't really seem like a filler. So I had a couple people ask me. My advice is to stay away from Tim Sweeney. Yes, he threw a 2-point conversion to Josh Allen last night, which was beautiful. So he got some extra points there. But he got a touchdown, but I think he's going to rely on touchdowns here. I think this is just one of those things. If you can go and still pick up Dallas Goedert, pick up someone like him, or just find someone else. Like, I don't think Josh Allen is too addicted to Emmanuel Sanders and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Don't make my mistake and pick up Tyler Higbee, because even if you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins, it's not going to matter.
Oh my God.
It's not going to matter.
No. But one player that has come back from the dead, Jonathan Taylor, the Indianapolis running back, 441 yards in 3 weeks with 5 TDs. Everyone slept on him all early in the season. He wasn't living up to the hype. Does this continue? Are you guys starting him every week? He's a must start, right? He's absolutely a must start every week now, right?
I could trade for him. Yeah, I'll start him. Just something.
I don't know why I'm asking Anthony questions about fantasy football. He's obviously not that great at it. So
I want to talk. Can I just at least tell you what my team is?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Just real quick. Just bear with me, chat. So my quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. He is absolutely fine. I love him. He's great. My wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. He's not playing bad. Allen Robinson III. I know he should get traded to a contender. He's fine. My running backs, DeAndre Swift from the Lions. Wait a minute. Dalvin Cook. Cook, and so I got Dalvin Cook, Swift. My other running back was Edwards Hilaire. And then my tight end was Gesicki. I took a gamble with him. And then I had Jamar Chase as my flex. I don't understand why I'm 0-6, but that's fine. We go.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you're looking for a receiver, which it seems like you are because Robinson's not catching the ball, T.Y. Hilton's back. And T.Y. Hilton over his career is like a 4-catch, 100-yard guy every game. Seems like.
I have him in one of my leagues. I've had him on IR all season, and I'm definitely happy to have him back.
Yep. He had 4 catches for 80 yards. I mean, depending on how you play, that's 10 or 12 points. That's a solid flex start if you ask me. Especially with how many injuries are going on. T.Y. Hilton's is not owned in a ton of leagues right now, and if you're watching live, you can probably put in a waiver claim for him. And I would.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay. But yeah, I think T.Y. is going to be a good starter for a lot of people that are looking for wide receiver help. Now, when it comes to running backs, there's not a lot. There's not a lot that you can rely on. But I did want to bring up my sleeper of the week is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. Now, everyone's probably saying, who the heck is that guy? Well, he was the 3rd-string running back for the New England Patriots to start the season. Now that their starter's out and they're running with their backup, who's also kind of hurt, Stevenson had 8 touches. 3 of those were catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. Hey, I'm just going to throw that out there. In a PPR league, that is 15 points. That is a solid point. Now, Damian Harris probably isn't going to miss an extended amount of time, so this might be the high end of what he can do. But I'm just gonna throw this out there. I think that Ramondre Stevenson is worth at least stashing in deeper leagues. If you have a pretty shallow league, or if you have a shallow league, he's worth kind of stashing back. If you have a really, really deep league and he's available, maybe this is someone you start if you happen to have any of the 17 Ravens running backs that have been hurt this season. That being said, yeah, we're just gonna want to remind everyone that I'm still undefeated in the Rare Drop Sports Fantasy League, and I hope Kevin's listening because I'm undefeated, and I would have beat you this week. Anywho, moving into this week, moving into the Week 6 recap, had a bunch of great games. Let's just hop right into one of the better games of the week: Dallas versus New England, going to overtime, with Dallas pulling out the win, 35-29. Let's just talk about it. Initial thoughts on this? Initial thoughts on that game? What are you impressed by?
Honestly, it still blows my mind how competitive Mac Jones is, as far as like we talked about going into his system and having the most stable situation. But at some point, even as a sad Jets fan, I have to put a little tip of a hat that they haven't. They are really in these games, but Dak, I don't know. He's shown, if anything, that he's 100% back this year. He's been a pleasure to watch.
I love watching Dak. This injury is going to be very interesting to watch. I heard that after the game he was limping quite a bit, and there's something that might be lingering. Or do you take a gamble and sit him and don't read? I don't know. It just doesn't look good.
They had the boot on him at some point, right? Towards the end.
Yeah.
I think it's scary. I think Dak. If Dak's hurt, this team loses everything that makes them special. I think he is the glue that's holding them together right now. On offense, right? I mean, obviously Diggs is holding them together on defense. So, by the way, I picked up Dallas's defense just for that game and got 14 points. Anywho, I think I want to mention something. I think we're seeing Bill Belichick's bad decisions in the draft start to bite him in the ass. When you're talking him drafting Sony Michel over Nick Chubb, or taking N'Keal Harry in the first round too, like these picks are not, like, for a guy who's known for homebred talent, is starting to show that his decisions aren't always that great, and they're not working in his favor.
But he never hit in the draft early. He hits in the later half, or he takes people's trash from other teams. Wes Welker is the first person that comes to my mind because Miami got rid of him. He brings him in his gold, and he hits on that. We're starting to see where Brady picked up for what Belichick couldn't do in the draft, because Brady made these players really good. Go back to Mac Jones real quick. That man is going to be something. I think that he is a competitor. He's going to ball. It's going to take a season or two, but I still think Belichick is a good coach. I mean, I don't want to put it all on him, but I think he is doing a good job for what he has.
I mean, okay, so let's talk about taking other people and bringing them in. Like, he signs Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, who have done nothing. You're talking that the two most sought-after tight ends of this offseason, and for some reason, they're not working in Belichick's offense, in his system. I think Nelson Aguilar not doing crap up in New England. Like, let's be honest. Like, he got all these pieces together, and they're not working for Bill Belichick this season. And I think the only reason they're staying competitive is because Mac Jones is that good and is that ready, but also their running game has been absolutely stellar. I think we're starting to see one where Tom Brady filled the gaps for everything that Belichick couldn't do. But also, I think we're seeing that you can only live off of someone else's trash for so long before it bites you in the ass.
I mean, at the end of the day, Hunter Henry is leading the team in touchdown receptions. He is. Like, they spread the ball out. There's never been, except for that 1 year that Randy Moss joined Tom Brady and that crazy team, there's never been like a one standout person on offense that will lead in receiving or lead in rushing. It's always by committee who has the hot hand. Aguilar, he's a 50-50. He'll catch some great ones and he'll drop some of the most obvious passes. So it's literally, you're going to find somebody that's going to come out of nowhere and is going to emerge in New England, but they never had that superstar. It was always just by committee and a great defense.
And I think you can't do by committee without Tom Brady, I think, is what we're starting to see. So,
yeah.
That being said, moving over to the AFC West, we had Las Vegas versus a banged-up Denver, which ended up being a closer game. Las Vegas taking the win 34-24. I mean, did anyone here expect Vegas to win after what happened with Gruden and all that stuff that's going on?
Nope.
Now, the obvious answer to that has to be no, right? Yeah. I still feel like the Raiders all year have kind of been preying on these situations where the more that there seems to be against them, the better they play. Like they just whatever this underdog, whatever type of factor you want to say. And I'm obviously not trying to say that the Broncos are the greatest team in the league, but that was that's as a real great show of resilience by everybody on the team to keep it together the way that they did, and they played a hell of a game. Teddy Bridgewater had his work cut out for him. That was a painful game to watch.
What? Yeah, it's wild with Denver. It seems like everyone that could have been that can be hurt for the Broncos is hurt. Like they have no secondary. Their top receiver's out still. Judy's out. Like at this point, it's just kind of Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball and praying.
Go to Cleveland. Wait till we talk about Cleveland. Their injury list.
God, it is insane. But I mean, is this the point where we say that Derek Carr is the real deal and the Raiders are a threat to make the playoffs and do some damage in the playoffs? If they can overcome that, I know Denver's, like, again, not the end-all be-all of teams in the NFL, but you just went in without a head coach, with the entire league looking on you, and somehow managed to pull off that win.
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's having the starters and having kind of these quiet wins that they're getting, but they're not bleeding off major pieces of the team left and right. They're getting everybody involved, and they're just constantly underestimated because no matter how well Derek Carr plays, he could have like a perfect game with like 500 yards, and it's not like he's gonna suddenly pop up in people's minds before Pat Mahomes when they ask about quarterbacks in the league. He's just not flat. I don't think he's flashy enough to get that attention, but they've been way outplaying. I think anything that I would have expected at the start of this season.
Yep. Speaking of Pat Mahomes, Kansas City beats Washington 31-13, but at one point in the first half, it looked like Washington was going to win this game. How long? I mean, now granted, Kansas City's only they're only 500 at this point, right? They're 3-3. But at how long until their first half woes are just going to bite them in the butt and they're going to completely fall apart?
So, like you talked about earlier about your fantasy team, a win is a win.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it might be ugly, but a win is a win. The Chargers we have seen a kryptonite in the Chargers, and it's called the damn run defense.
Mm-hmm.
So this division is I probably made a mistake on the prediction. This might be an 8-8, whoever gets there first type of thing, because nobody wants it. I think the Chiefs, they just have the staying power because they have Mahomes. So I still think this is theirs to lose. It's ugly right now.
What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, well, there's issues with clearly with the line and the ball security, right? There's so many turnovers. I think that's the reason why everyone was watching. Like when I was watching the start of that, I couldn't believe, between the interceptions, the fumble, and I'm like, is this where it's some sort of defensive power struggle? Obviously, the offense isn't really in place for Washington, but it feels like the Chiefs, man, when they got to the Super Bowl, everything looked great, and then they had to play it. You saw like these kind of issues with the O-line and Mahomes not getting as comfortable as he usually does, and that does feel like it's been the story for them this season. Even if they're winning, like they have to win these really ugly, messy games with like brutal stat sheets, right?
I mean, is it wild to say that right now the team to beat in the AFC West is the Raiders?
Oh,
I don't want to say that.
I don't want to say that.
I think they're winning because people are still underestimating them for whatever reason.
Let's talk about it, because I don't think the Broncos are really in it. The Broncos have the best defense out of the four teams in that division, but I mean, because the Broncos have only allowed 110 points this season. The Chiefs have allowed 176 points already. They're only a +9 differential with 185 scored. You got 144 coming out of allowed out of the Raiders with the 147 scored. Then 150 allowed for the Chargers with 148. So they're actually at a -2 for the Chargers. I think looking in the outside looking in, I think Las Vegas is the favorite to win this division at this point in the season.
It's all going to depend on who wins the trade deadline. They all should be buyers, and they should go out. Every one of those teams needs something, a piece. And whoever is more aggressive, who is willing to give up draft picks to go get this So I mean, right now I still have the Chiefs as the favorites, regardless of how it is, just because Mahomes is everything.
Okay. Hey, is what it
That's
is.
fair.
Speaking of two teams that are probably going to be busy at the trade deadline, we had another overtime game. Minnesota taking down Carolina 34-28. The bullet point I have underneath this game is the overtime thriller that should never have happened. Because Carolina had no business coming back to this, but we were talking about it before the show. Sam Darnold putting together an unbelievable 96-yard drive down the field. Both teams sitting at 500 now. Obviously, kind of the opposite way to get to 500, with the Vikings starting off really slow at like 1-2 or 1-3, and then winning to get back up, and Carolina obviously dropping 3 straight. Do either of these teams have a chance to improve to playoff caliber teams if they make the right trades? Or do you think they're both just a couple pieces away?
Couple pieces. I think Minnesota can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I love their offense. They were when didn't they start they started 0-3, and they said that they were the best 0-3 team they probably ever seen before. And yeah, this is what they should be doing. Like Cook 140 and a touchdown, 29 carries, Cousin 3 touchdowns, Thielen 126 and a touchdown, Jefferson 80. I mean, this is just a good offense.
Now, something we're not talking about. Patrick Peterson went to the IR during this game, so they put him on IR. So they're losing their shutdown corner. Does that mean once trade deadline comes up, is that piece that they're missing, or is there more to it? Because Sam Darnold ran ragged on them in that fourth quarter drive.
It's hard to say. It really is. I think that, and I guess coming from a place of experience, Sam Darnold is like a very scrappy player, and I feel like when everything falls into like the box of what the play is supposed to be, and everything goes according to plan, that's kind of where I feel like he's always struggled a little bit. It's kind of weird. But when they got into this hurry up and had to go really fast and didn't have time, that was when you really got to see, I think, where his skill set comes out with extending the plays and driving the ball downfield, especially when you have to, right? When he doesn't have to think about, oh, can I make this throw? No, I have to make this throw. So I think that in those situations, he's still really good. But I don't know that there's a silver bullet for the rest of the game. Like I do sadly have, like I was saying, Robbie Anderson on my fantasy team, and like you got if guys like him, he got that nice contract. He's coming in. He looked fantastic last year. It's like I want to see. You have to be able to have guys like that produce, and before you're even thinking about fixing any other holes. Like I don't know.
I don't know. I think Carolina's an entire offensive line away from competing. From speaking from experience of watching every game. The right side's fine because you have John Miller and Taylor Moton, Taylor Moton's an all-pro right tackle. You don't really have to worry about that side. But whenever you're piecing together with bottom, like I'm talking 32nd ranked left tackle and 33rd ranked left guard, you're gonna have problems. I will say this about Minnesota. I do agree with the statement that whenever at one point they were 1-3, and they were probably the best 1-3 team. Their 3 losses are against the Bengals, the Cardinals, and the Browns. And to put it in perspective, they lost by 3 to the Bengals, they lost by 1 to the Cardinals, and they lost by a single touchdown to the Browns. So I think they're competitive, and they are probably just a couple pieces, whether that's a defensive lineman who could stop someone like Chuba Hubbard from running over them, or if it's another defensive back. Another couple of teams that we were very convinced were very set in their ways and are going to do great. Squared off, and while the score says one story, I think there's a different story laying underneath it, and that's Baltimore 34 over the Chargers 6. Listen, Anthony mentioned it. Chargers and their run defense. Is there a way to fix that? Because it was bad.
No. I gotta get lucky. They need a few pieces. I think they just got exposed. I mean, Herbert didn't look that well. I just literally think that they just took a butt whooping. They need to go back to the drawing board and just hope that their division doesn't pick up on their issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Like there was no run game at all either. Just
Yep.
It was that was a painful game, very very painful game to look at the highlights from anyway.
Yeah, you can't have an Austin Eckler caliber running back only getting 7 carries or 6 carries, and then him only producing 7 yards with those 6 carries. But I mean, on the flip side, like I said, this score doesn't tell the whole story because after 5 stellar weeks, Lamar Jackson looked like he was brought back down to earth as a passer, and he was roughed around. He took 3 sacks for almost 30 yards, which is never a good thing. Threw 2 picks, under 170 yards with a singular touchdown, and he still ran the ball well. But it kind of looked like LA had his number when it came to him throwing the ball, though.
Yeah, I feel like with the running game is going that well, it's like I have a really hard time nitpicking. Like a couple of interceptions, I saw one of them was like, it seems so unnecessary. But once they get to that comfortable spot, like I think if the Chargers had been more competitive on offense, then Lamar probably would have had better numbers. I think, as dumb as that might sound, because I'm just like I towards the end of the game, there was like just run it out.
Yeah,
but. He didn't really need to do anything flashy, and he didn't deliver. This is the kind of stat line that I see, and I'm like, looking at the score, I'm like, I don't really care. It feels, there might have been some garbage time shenanigans going on. I don't know, but it was, the shutdown they had on the Chargers offense was very, very important, I think, for everybody else that has to play against them the rest of the year.
I agree.
I mean, he can get away. He can get away with that with the opposing quarterback with an 18.6 QBR rating. I mean, he don't have to do a lot.
Yeah, exactly. He could if he had thrown a 3rd pick with that scoreline, I'd be like, I don't know why this happened, but I'm still not really that mad about it, except for my fantasy team.
Damn you. Now, speaking about quarterbacks that didn't have the best day, Tampa Bay takes down Philly 28-22. I'm not even sure. I'm going to be 100% honest how Philly managed to put up 22 points in this game. Because they looked absolutely awful. Jalen Hurts looked about as human as possible, throwing 12 completions in 26 attempts for 115 yards with a touchdown and a pick. Now he did run the ball 10 times for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns, but at the end of the day, it's like Jalen looked terrible. That he did not look like he was a professional quarterback.
So bad. No, I completely agree. It was. I was excited about this game. I was like, oh yeah, this should be fun. I really feel like Jalen Hurts has been. He really does show like these flashes. It doesn't feel like the support is there at all from anywhere in the entire system, and it's just him playing hero ball every play, and Devontae Smith just being like, I'm a rookie, but like you can kind of get it to me maybe, and that really not being enough. But this game was so sloppy, and it's not even close if Jalen Hurts isn't as good on his legs as he is. But again, that's not something that's going to work the whole season long when that's the only way your team is getting in the end zone.
Yeah. I mean, and let's talk about the fact that those 2 runs that he got into the end zone were set up by pass interference penalties, right? Like, so he was relying on the other team to even get him down the field. And really what this looked like, it looked like Cam during the end of his tenure in Carolina. Like, just trying to do everything and can't do it, doesn't have the supporting cast, doesn't have the accuracy that he needs to be able to play hero ball.
Wow. He's got a good number of years on end of prime Cam, but yeah, that's a situation where, especially with the way that the fans have been fed up with all the BS over the last year and 2 between everything with him getting drafted and Hurts, like this is one of those things where if they don't quickly try to at least make it look like they can put pieces around him, that's like the fan base is going to crucify them, because it's unforgivable saying that this is going to be our main guy, and then you put him out there where the only thing your team can do is just hope that he's able to scramble every other play, because just the number of option type plays that they were running too, if you watch the game, was ludicrous. Like the amount of times they forced it was unreal.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about Hurts, but can we just talk about how much BS Tampa Bay is? I'm looking at all their players. I did not know Giovanni Bernard played with them.
Yeah.
I'm really upset by the talent they have. They look bored out there. I didn't realize Fournette with 2 touchdowns. Antonio Brown has just resurged back to his old days in Pittsburgh. They got OJ Howard, Mike Evans didn't do anything, Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate. I literally hate this team. Like, they have so many stars up here. Vita Vea, they got Ndamukong Suh, Sherman. I guarantee he's gonna get an interception from time to time. Like, they are just loaded.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
just don't know who's gonna stop them.
Look, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are it's exactly what would happen if you had like Madden a few years ago and just a random Tampa fan like, all right, I'm gonna mess with franchise because I hate my team, and this is what they would have done.
Oh yeah, it's wild, and what's wild is how many of these players took pay cuts to stay in Tampa, right?
Yeah,
Like Godwin took a pay cut to stay in Tampa.
Barrett did.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think, I mean,
mad.
let's move down the line to the next game on the thing. I think the only team that could possibly beat them, Arizona, beating Cleveland 37-14. Arizona, without 5 coaches and a player, stomps Cleveland into the ground like an 18-year-old boy playing basketball against a 4-year-old toddler. Like, just absolutely grounded and pounded them. And Kyler Murray looking ridiculously unstoppable again. Arizona, we had this conversation, I think, in week 3, is Arizona the real deal? And at this point, you can't say anything otherwise. You can't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
No.
can. Oh, I
Okay,
can.
can we okay, well, I know that Jameis Winston is a very good football player, but hear me out. Kyler Murray looking pretty good, especially, you know, in a world where it's just quarterbacks that get the MVP.
Mhm.
Kyler Murray, he's making a pretty good case for himself.
Mhm.
Again, just anytime you get to see him play is amazing. I do feel for the Browns in this game
Mhm.
with all the injuries that they have. Basically, putting their second team skill players out there at this point
Mhm.
is not a fun place to be. But man, the Cardinals are so good; it's unreal.
Yeah.
So this is coming from I'm looking at stats and everything,
Mhm.
and my feeling. This is not about Jameis. I'll talk about him next week. I am not okay. So Kyler Murray is balling out per se. The team is. His numbers are not really gaudy or shows that they can sustain. And the reason why I said this is because he has 2 games that he's under a 60 QBR rating. His QBR ratings are really low. He doesn't have games that he took the team on his back. Yes, he threw for 4 touchdowns with Cleveland. But against Jacksonville, he threw an interception, no touchdown. He only threw 1 touchdown against San Francisco and their woes. The game against Minnesota, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yeah, he threw for 400, but that game was a shootout. I want to love Kyler Murray, especially for MVP, but I just don't. I think the numbers are not that. I feel like he's going to get rattled. I feel like this is not a good the team is decent, but I think they're gonna get exposed later in the year. That's just my opinion.
6-0 Cardinals are about to be exposed.
Yeah,
We'll see.
you can record that and put that up there because if they
So,
do,
I think that's what we're doing.
I want
his
to
back.
say this because a lot of times when your team is undefeated, the stats weigh less than the quarterback is performing. So first of all, Kyler Murray is sitting at a 67.6 QBR, which is third. He's also completing 74% of his passes. 74. Now, for reference, in 2015, when Cam Newton won MVP, Cam Newton threw the ball. He was completing less than 60%. He threw for what Kyler's probably going to break, currently on track to break, which was 3,800 yards, and then threw 35 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Kyler Murray's also been pretty pretty efficient on the ground when he needs to be. He's got 3 TDs on the league on the year as a runner. I hear what you're saying about it not being gaudy, but when you are undefeated, you don't have to be gaudy. Because Alex Smith had a couple seasons where if his team, he hadn't gotten hurt or his team hadn't fallen apart, he could have won MVP for just being a game manager. And sometimes you give it to that guy, and that's what Kyler Murray's doing for the Cardinals right now.
And yeah, they're winning the game they're supposed to win. I'm looking at their schedule for the next few weeks. They are playing the Texans. We know what that's going to happen. The Packers game is going to be very interesting. I think this might be a passing of the torch from Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray. That's going to be interesting. They play the 49ers again. They got the Panthers and the Seahawks. It's a favorable lineup. I think the matchup I can't wait to see is the second to the last week of the season when they're going to Dallas. I'm curious to see. Those are 2 young quarterbacks that's going to be exciting to watch. But I don't know. Like I said, he could end up winning MVP, but right now the numbers don't look like it.
Let's just say this: he beat the Rams. Okay. He beat the Titans, who just beat the Bills, which is saying something because the Bills
beat the Bills. If we want to say the Bills beat it, they shouldn't go for it on 4th and 1 when you can kick a field goal to take it into overtime. The Bills beat the Bills. But yes, the Titans beat the Bills.
Yep. But they beat the Rams, who are arguably the best offensive team in the league right now. I mean, and it comes down to it.
In the league? Little stretch. Like,
the Rams?
That guy in Tampa, 45 minutes from where I am, has a pretty great offense. See? I'm doing good not talking about Jameis. I'm doing really great. But I don't know. Like you said, y'all are on the train for Kyler Murray, and it's gone. And I guess I forgot to get on the train, or I might have left my shoe at the train station, so I went back to get my shoe. So I don't know yet. Just don't know.
I'm signed up for it. But speaking of the Bills beating the Bills, Monday Night Football, Tennessee taking down the Bills 34-31. Let's be honest. This game came down to the very last play, and Josh Allen slipped, and that's what it came down to. Derrick Henry looked amazing, and what's wild is Josh Allen looked amazing. It was Derrick Henry versus Josh Allen, and you saw that.
Yeah,
Derrick
it was an awesome game.
Grown man.
Did you see he broke the record for running back speed on that touchdown?
Yeah, he got the fastest ball carrier speed this season.
Yeah.
To the fastest period.
Or not the record, but yeah, this season. 21.8 miles an hour on a 76-yard touchdown. That is a fast human being.
He's big too.
He's big.
He big. That boy big.
He real big.
Country strong right there.
I mean,
exactly.
You know what's wild, and you guys are gonna hate me for this. This reminds me of the Ravens in 2000 when Trent Dilfer was their quarterback, and they relied on him to just be the game manager, and that's what they're doing with Tannehill right now. They're like, hey, here's the deal, Tannehill. You have Derrick Henry. He is big man. He is big man, run fast. Give him the ball, and when you throw the ball, hit one of these 3 people in the same color jersey as you. And that's all you got to do. And it's working.
Tannehill cannot mess this up. He has a beefy offensive line. Mm-hmm. He has the king of running backs behind him. If they don't go far, it's because of Tannehill. Because all you need to do is do a play action, give it to the tight end. You got these big receivers on the outside. I still think Julio can ball. You can't mess this up. No. You really can't.
Man, they had some kids last night come out and just ball. Like, there were some names I hadn't heard before, but let's talk about A.J. Brown kind of falling into his own now, really finding his place in that offense. I will say this, it's kind of worrisome that A.J. Brown didn't have a single catch until the second half, so every one of those 7 catches for 91 yards came in the second half. And then they got this kid, Westbrook. I'm about for this. Westbrook Akine, I think is how they said it. He only had 3 catches for 27 yards, and he's only got 12 catches for 125 on the season. But whenever they needed to move the ball downfield in the second half, This boy caught everything that came his way, and he helped move them down the field. I think Tennessee has some sleepers on their team that are going to help them win this by committee. And I'm excited to see what they do. And I mean, again, Tannehill, 18 of 29 for 216, granted one and threw a pick, but still, hey, a 70 QBR is a win.
If the only passes that he completed were the ones to just kind of set up a little bit of those runs that they did all game and just obliterated the Bills with, then I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It's another one of those situations where I'm like, you generated so much out of everybody else. Like, how much more can you ask for from a game overall? And I don't think there is much more, except well, maybe for Josh Allen, but otherwise, no.
This is a fun game to watch. We were watching the Red Sox Astros game, and I was with a bunch of Astros fans. And after another grand slam, and then the Red Sox being up 9-2, they're like, "Hey, can we put the baseball game on the small TV and football on the big TV?" I was like, Hey, how you guys doing? So we ended up watching the entirety of that game, and that was a good game. I think these are both teams that are going to have a position in the playoffs come playoff time.
Tennessee is built for the playoffs. They built to play in cold weather when it gets like later on, because that running game just tires you down. Derrick Henry just doesn't look tired. Man got 143 yards on 20 carries. It's just.
Did you?
I like them because they play like my Madden, like how I play Madden. When I do these Madden league, run. Oh, play action, throw it over the middle for 5 yards. Run. Like they just beat you down.
What's wild is they actually showed that stat. They showed Derrick Henry's yard per carry by quarter, and it was like first quarter 2.1, second quarter 3.2, third quarter it was like 4.5, and then fourth quarter was like 6.8. This guy is getting almost a first down every time he touches the ball in the fourth quarter.
He's so good. I don't know where the stamina comes from, but he absolutely outlasts everybody else. Everybody starts getting tired. And let's face it, we've seen it before, okay? Not everybody wants to tackle this man. So
I mean,
I saw a couple good highlights. I think one of the titled hits was like Micah Hyde sacrifices himself to save Derrick Henry's 4th touchdown attempt, and you just watch the poor guy get completely run over, but it's just enough to trip Derrick Henry, and he's like, "Oh, guess I'll have to run again."
Derrick Henry is he is a special running back.
Unreal.
There's no one else like him.
No.
No.
He's one of a kind.
Nope. Well, that was the week. Oh, go ahead.
Something that is just like, it's kind of interesting. So 2 wins by 2 teams that just ran the ball down people's throat. Baltimore and Tennessee. They exposed 2 good teams, San Diego and Buffalo, with run defensive problems.
Question. Are you really going to say Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry things is exposing Buffalo's run defense?
Yeah, because now you have film. I'm like, okay,
but
how can we slow down Buffalo?
But no other running back can replicate what Derrick Henry's doing, is what I'm saying. There's no one as good as him. And Buffalo has done pretty decently against other starting running backs in the league up till this point.
It's not about the running back. It's about the scheme of how you block things. And I think they are showing that you don't need to do these outside runs. If you just put helmet to helmet with these fat people, like you could just tire them down, just keep on beating them. I don't know. This might be a formula or something. It was just old school gridiron football that they played.
That's fair. I think what's wild is up until this point, they were only allowing 90 yards a game rushing from their opponents. So I don't think this exposes Buffalo as much as the Chargers have been exposed.
Nah. At the end of the day, you can't replicate the running success that the Titans have unless you have a time machine to go back and grab Derrick Henry before they did.
Yeah. I mean, they have one of the better run stoppers in the middle of their defensive line in Star Ukulele. So I'm not too worried about Buffalo just because Derrick Henry had their way with them. But that being said, we'll wait until next week and we'll see what happens. Actually, we won't, because Buffalo's on a bye next week. Josh Allen, if I lose my first game because you're on a bye, I'm going to be mad. Anywho,
5 weeks.
a couple big injuries coming out of this week. Obviously, Baker Mayfield re-tears his labrum, and we have this as a top storyline, but we can actually hit this right now. So, is Baker reaching a breaking point in his career from injuries and poor performance, like injuries building up and resulting in poor performance across the board? Like, what does Baker do moving forward?
Well, he's already kind of been playing hurt, right? It's not like he was 100% even.
He's had a
even
harness
after
on.
Yeah, like you know, it's really tough because you only get so many years with some of these rosters, and a lot of these guys on their team are really, really talented. And as soon as they're available, other teams are going to want to pick quite a bit away at them. But on the other hand, like if Baker Mayfield takes if you aggravate something like this more and more and keep forcing it, this might be the last season that your team's going to be competitive. Period. Right? Like you got to save something for next year. And if you're hurt like this and it's coming back, like I asked myself, we talked about this already with Dak Prescott earlier, but like that's a big question mark that you have. Like, how much are you willing to put a guy on the line when he's not even going to be able to guarantee you the same level of success because he's playing hurt anyway, right? So at what point does risking making it worse go too far? And I do feel like the Browns are getting there.
I feel like it's the same old song and dance with quarterbacks for the Browns. Whenever they have a decent one, he gets hurt.
Yep. And it's kind of like it's disappointing because they have a stout a top 3 offensive line. They have weapons, but it's his left shoulder, if I'm not mistaken, and that's your lead shoulder when you're trying to throw. So essentially, he's throwing the ball with just one arm, and he's trying to get it to receivers like Odell that are outrunning it. It's really tough. You might just have to sit him and just take a gamble with your backup.
We got Case Keenum sitting in the back, and Case Keenum is a serviceable backup. Let's be honest there. Case Keenum's been a starter in the league for many years. That is a serviceable backup. My worry is that Baker already said that he's going to get a second opinion. So, he's going to do everything in his power to try and play through it and keep his team competitive, which you get it. Like, he's a competitive athlete. That's what they do, but it's not the wise decision.
The question is, Cleveland is in a win now scenario. If you get the second opinion from Baker Mayfield, it doesn't look promising. Do you go out and get a quarterback that's available? Do you go get like a Garoppolo or Cam Garoppolo? Like, do you go out and get something knowing that you have the talent to get to the playoffs? Like, do you go and do you make that gamble?
I mean, maybe.
That's what you should be talking about as a team.
I mean, Garoppolo, yeah, let's just replace Baker, an injured quarterback, with Garoppolo, someone who's more injured than Baker is.
I'm just saying, like, somebody who's out there, who's expendable. I just say Garoppolo. Cam is there, but do you want to put Case Keenum in if you know that when these injuries, they're not long-term injuries, Chubb will come back, and then you have targets on the outside? Do you just go for it? Do you push the chips in and think this is the time to do it? Because the vision is still wide open. So maybe we go look at a Cam. But I wouldn't put Baker out there. He shouldn't be warrioring anything, because if that injury gets worse and worse, now you're talking about you're out for a whole NFL season.
Yeah. You don't want to do that, obviously.
No.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see. I hope the team doctor's like, no, you sitting, and Stefanski's like, you're sitting. Seems like he has a little bit of control there in Cleveland, so we'll see what happens. We talked about it earlier. Dak Prescott's got a calf injury. It's similar to both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on Cleveland, who's also hurt. So we got a lot of calf injuries this season, but Dak specifically was in a boot. If you're the Cowboys, how worried are you? Who is your backup, first of all? I'm going to go to Wikipedia while you guys tell me how worried you are if you're the Cowboys.
Oh, I know the dude's name too, and I forgot.
Yeah.
But how worried are you with Dak being hurt?
You have to be super worried. That was a serious injury that he recovered from. And you could say, quote unquote, recovered. But if you're aggravating that part of your leg again, I would don't take risks with your life, man. Like, he's got enough money to be set forever. At the very least, you got to make sure that this thing is 100% good to go before you go back out there and risk any more than you already have. but it'd be nice if it doesn't end up being like a super huge deal. But the fact that they went to the levels of precaution that they did show that they obviously are taking it seriously. And if you're taking it that seriously, I don't think that you just say, okay, yeah, you're probably fine to just go play next week.
Yep. So their backup quarterback, you have to choose between Will Grier and Cooper Rush.
There it is, Cooper Rush.
Mm-hmm. Cooper Rush, there you go. Well, you know what? Worst case scenario, he plays a great game. You're going to sell a lot of jerseys. No problem. There you go.
And Will Grier, so great he was released in favor of P.J. Walker, the standout of the XFL last year. So...
I heard Christian Hackenberg's still looking for a job.
Yeah, I remember him. He did good for the Jets. He did good.
Oh my god!
Never had a single snap in his entire career.
Oh my god!
When it comes to calf injuries, it can get scary because it can connect. I'm thinking Achilles. The first thing I think about when it comes to calf, Achilles, Dak had that ankle injury. He might be overcompensating playing on that leg. That is something that you shouldn't force back. If you need to get him a game, you have a league. Your division is terrible. Maybe you sit him, and I don't know when their bye is. Hold on, I'm looking at the bye right now. If they have one, do they? I know Miami have 5 of them. I think the bye week is like in 2 weeks and whatnot. So maybe if you can afford it,
just coast until the bye.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can put him on the IR designated return, and he'll be back after the bye week because you got 3 weeks.
Correct.
Maybe just do that. Just let him sit. We'll see. We'll see. I hope Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy make the right decision. Don't rush him back. I also think that I hope Dak makes the right decision and doesn't try to rush himself back. So we'll see. And
it's not worth permanent damage.
Yeah, not at all. I agree. But then coming out of Seattle, we had a very serious injury with Darrell Taylor. He was immobilized with a severe neck injury. But news is that he's moving his extremities, and he was carted off as a precaution. And this is just one of those things you hate to see because one, Darrell Taylor obviously is very important to his team, but his ability to walk is even more important. It's not something you want to see in the NFL. I don't know if there's a lot for us to talk about here besides the fact that we here on the regular season of the podcast that they're probably not listening to. Wish him the best.
Absolutely.
With that being said, some of the top storylines, we'll kind of fire through these before we get to the rookie recap. Top storylines. David Baker retired from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And without warning, and then apparently Paul thinks that people are lobbying for Peyton Manning to replace him, which would be dope, but I don't think Peyton wants to do it because I think ESPN's about to lock Peyton and Eli down to a pretty decent contract. But one of the interesting things I saw about this, so if you guys don't know who David Baker is, he's the big guy with the suit that always goes and knocks on the doors in the hotel to let people know that they've been selected to the NFL Hall of Fame. One of the interesting takes that I've seen is, should we be worried that David Baker, who loved the Pro Football Hall of Fame more than anyone, retired without notice when all these emails were coming out in the investigation?
Was that just me? I was like, that's the first thing I thought about when I saw that he retired out of nowhere, halfway through the beginning of the season. I mean, it might be something else, but we still got a lot of emails that's going to come out soon.
Yeah. Oh, God. God. This email business is just getting out of control. But, I mean, I think this hurts. I mean, this speak of it like we're talking about a team. This hurts the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like, David Baker brought this, made it huge, right? Like, the Hall of Fame has always been a big deal, but, David Baker is, this larger-than-life personality that everybody loves. So.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Speaking of people, actually, I don't even know how to lead into this. What is the Washington football team doing? Is what we were supposed to call this. So, some background. Washington football team this week announced 3 days before the game that they were honoring Sean Taylor with a ceremony, rededication of his number, retiring his number, rededicating the road next to the stadium that has his name on it, all this jazz, and then just completely botched it. One owner of the football team shows up to Sean Taylor's family's rededication wearing a hoodie that looks like it is about 5 sizes too big. Then they did the rededication of the street in front of a set of porta potties. And then on top of that, they had VIPs for both teams stand on Sean Taylor's number that was painted on the field. That was the roped off section for the VIPs. I mean, is this just Washington being as dumb as Washington be, or is it just their owner's an idiot? Like, how do you even do this?
I mean, you're supposed to have, you're supposed to have people talk, that are in charge of events and stuff for your organization that do these kinds of things. But I don't know how that much slips past whoever's in charge of organizing it. If it's going to be that last minute, find another time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they were saying. They're like, hey, it's last minute because we wanted to surprise people. I mean, why would you do that? This is Sean Taylor, one of the most beloved members of Washington ever. There are people who would have traveled from across the country had they known.
They dropped the ball with this whole thing. Why a 3-day notice to do the number thing? This should have been planned out during the off season. This should have been happening on the first home game for Washington. It'd have been some top good positive vibes going in. They have issues. I don't even want to talk about the football team. They just have a lot of issues going on right now, and they definitely dropped the ball. Sean Taylor was a hell of a player. I still remember when he knocked out that punter in the Pro Bowl. That was beautiful.
He killed him.
Yeah, he did. And they dropped the ball. I think this was just ridiculous, and that guy dancing on his number is.
Oh,
yeah.
We'll get to that.
This is all.
Dan Snyder just needs to be gone. Like, if the investigation of Washington football team has now brought down John Gruden, brought out the fact that Adam Schefter checks with the GMs before he publishes articles, and a couple other people have been outed, why is Dan Snyder still in a position? Because this racist, misogynistic piece of crap is already on video saying bad things. For the love of all that is holy, that these emails that he's sending are just as bad. Like, why is he still in power? Like, can we get him out? Here's why I have a problem, because as a Panthers fan, I lived through this with Jerry Richardson being an absolute piece of shit, being a racist, misogynistic guy. The NFL pushed him out almost immediately. They were like, put your team up for sale, find someone to buy it, get out. You're not welcome here anymore. And now you have 650,000 emails, and for like harsher things than Jerry Richardson did, if we're being honest. For assault charges, right? Like there are bad things that Dan Snyder has been accused of that are far worse than Jerry Richardson ever did, and yet Dan Snyder is being protected by the NFL.
I don't know if they don't I feel like they don't have evidence to show everybody hey, he did this. He is really slipping underneath the radar. He could have did something great for his name with the Sean Taylor thing. I really don't know. I wouldn't be happy to be a Washington football team fan, just because you have an owner that is completely terrible. He should have been gone years ago. So many investigations. And I just don't know why they're turning a blind eye to him. I really don't know.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's
annoying.
This comes down to some backdoor politics stuff that just none of us know about, and until it blows up in somebody's face.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jackson Mahomes is an idiot and did a TikTok dance on Sean Taylor's number, and Jackson Mahomes needs to stop riding the coattails of his brother. That's all I'm going to say. He's been doing it since he was at Texas Tech.
Is that
Pat's
Mahomes?
Yeah.
Oh, so that okay. All right. So there. He's stupid.
Yeah, he's an idiot. Anyway, some happy news, depending on who you are. Jacksonville breaks their losing streak against Miami and London. It's the first win for Urban Meyer in the NFL. So, I mean, kind of big news if you're talking about it, Anthony. I know you're mad. Once you turn the hat around so everyone can see who you're a fan of.
Oh, no, I can't. It's stuck on my head.
Okay. Okay, so let's just get down into the dirty of this. Is this because Jacksonville finally figured out how to get a rhythm, or, for lack of better terms, Miami's just not that good?
You know, this was one of those games where I woke up and I was like, "Oh my God, this is great!" I accidentally woke up early, but there's football on, and then it's a very messy game. I kind of was down for the meme with seeing Jacksonville go 0-6, but yeah, I there's really not a whole lot to say. This was a very ugly game
Mm-hmm.
with the points coming early for most of them, and the way that it ended.
It was a beautiful field goal.
Yeah, it was. Well, there was a weird field goal too, right?
Yeah.
That was very funky. That was a very funky field goal to watch. 'Cause I think a lot of people thought they probably missed that, but I don't know. It does. Where is the secret sauce for Miami? I don't know. The stats don't even look bad. You're just like, where is the peanut butter and jelly coming together for the sandwich?
I don't know how this got in the run of the show. I thought it was deleted. But it's really getting to the point now as a Miami fan that we need to blow this up. And the reason why I say it in a positive way is because we still have draft picks for the next few years. If we're not going to trade for Deshaun Watson, that means we're still sitting at 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks this up-and-coming draft. I think we need to trade Xavier Howard. I love him to death. He's a baller. But I think he'll do well in Seattle. I think he'll do well for a team that needs a shutdown corner. I think we need to start getting trade access. I think we just need to do this. I don't want to get rid of Brian Flores. I really love him as a coach. Tua is not the answer. He is not going to be the answer. I don't see him being a part of this team after this year. The only bright light that we have is Jalen Waddle, and I cannot wait to talk about him in the rookie recap later on. I think that's something that they have going. But besides that, it sucks watching Miami play because they look decent in the first game, and then we dropped 5 straight. So
I will say this: Tua looked good. Tua balled out. Tua did everything he can. Your defense is what fell apart. But that being said, we'll talk about it here immediately in the rookie recap. Trevor Lawrence finally looked like an NFL quarterback in this win against Miami. I'm just really gonna say, like, Trevor Lawrence really looked like a first-round pick. This is the first time he's looked like it. He didn't make any terrible decisions. He looked poised in the pocket. Ended up completing 25 of 41 for 320 yards and a touchdown. Only a singular touchdown. That's fine because he's got a really good running back, James Robinson, who I picked up in week 3. Thank you, riding that train. He's getting 20 points a game. But Trevor Lawrence finally looked like a quarterback. What do we think? Kind of happy to see it.
Yeah, it was nice. You hope to see the league continue to be competitive. Whenever the viewership stats come out, and I'm like, well, you can thank guys like Derrick Henry that make the less interesting teams look interesting, Kyler Murray, etc. And perhaps Trevor Lawrence can be that guy. Some of the runs outside looked really nice. The throws were good. They threw the ball a lot too. The stats are there off of a crazy number of attempts, and he hit almost every, or at least tried to hit almost everybody that could have caught a ball on his team. But that was. If you're a fan, it's like it's the glimpse that you want to see, right? I mean, it's like the one game where Zach looked good. You're like, okay, well, as long as at some point in the future we get this more than once every 5 games, I'm happy. Yeah,
I mean, he had.
The bar's very low. It's not even in my apartment, if I'm being honest. It's down, it's the floor underneath, somewhere down there, maybe.
Yeah. He attempted to throw the ball to 11 different people, which, funny enough, so did Tua. But no, I mean, what do you think, Anthony? Is this a sign of what we can expect from Trevor Lawrence whenever he's protected and has time to throw the ball and his receivers get open?
He's a prototypical quarterback. He like those big time quarterbacks. He has a good arm. I think he's getting comfortable. He looked comfortable in that game against Miami. He made some throws when the pocket broke down. I see good stuff going forward with him. He looks like an NFL quarterback star. He looks like a Justin Herbert, just that they're just built to throw the ball 40, 50 times in a game. I see good things happening with them.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this, though. I don't think Trevor Lawrence actually gets over that hill of becoming a great quarterback until Urban Meyer's gone. I don't think he's going to do well with Urban Meyer as his head coach.
That's fair. They got their own whole Coot and Capagle going on over there. So I'm not gonna
Adam
argue
Gase.
Yeah, coming out of that same game out in London, Jalen Waddle, another rookie we have actually yet to talk about on our rookie recap, but Jalen Waddle silently, secretly putting together a solid season. He's slaying out from the slot. He's getting the targets. Now, I will say this, he's only averaging 8.1 yards a catch. But Anthony, what do you got? What about Jalen Waddle makes you excited to watch him moving forward?
I love watching him. They are using him the way the Florida Gators did Percy Harvin during that national championship run. He is coming from out of the backfield. He is in motion quite a bit. He is doing a lot of option routes, a lot of misdirections to get him the goal line. He's the favorite in the goal line targets. Like just the rub route, so he can just do a flat route to the outside. Tua loves throwing to him. There was a big 3rd and 8, and Tua looked for him the whole entire way to get the first down, and he's catching the ball. He's a good. We talk about fantasy like keepers. Like he had 13 points in fantasy. He's good for PPR. I like Waddle. Like this was a good draft pick. This is a good something to build on.
Okay. Yeah, he was fun.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
Looked awesome. He's fun to watch. Yeah, exactly. I felt the same way. It's a name that we heard about, but we didn't really get to see it. And yeah, I was. He definitely made the game more interesting. I'll say that much.
Absolutely. Then coming out of the Eagles game, Devontae Smith. What is there to say about Devontae Smith at this point? Or is obviously
I like him.
Heisman receiver coming out into the NFL this year. But holy guacamole, has he been inconsistent? And do we just chalk all that up to Jalen Hurts being his quarterback and being inconsistent?
Eagles offense is a dumpster fire right now. They have some very talented players, and I like watching them play, but the O-line's clearly not all there. As you said, the wide receiver situation feels wildly inconsistent. And Hurts throws not been so on point. I mean, they're living and dying on their quarterback scrambling. As far as Devontae Smith going into this season, like everybody had these awful takes about how he's too small, he's going to be fragile. I think he's done just fine as far as taking the hits go, and he's made some beautiful catches. He's made some great plays. He's supposed to have those inconsistencies as a rookie player. The pressure shouldn't all be on Devontae Smith's back to bail out the Eagles because they decided they weren't going to address, the Ertz situation until the last second or, the Wentz situation until the last second. He kind of suffers because everything else is in, I'd say in disarray. But I actually really, everything that I've seen from Devonta Smith looks good from is he just a 6th game in the NFL? I didn't hate what I saw out of him.
I do worry. He only has 1 touchdown, and that came in week 1. Just a couple stat lines. He's 39th in the league for reception, 35th for yards, 68th for touchdowns, and 50th for average yards per catch. Those aren't stats you want to see out of a top 10 pick, if you ask me.
I think it just comes down to the rest of the team being a mess. Philadelphia needs another season, maybe 2 to get back into competing shape. I think.
Yeah. What you got, Ant?
It's like I said, inconsistent. I think Philadelphia needs to figure out if they got the quarterback that they need for the future. But it's just a lot of problems. I wouldn't put it on Devontae Smith at all.
Yeah.
I think if they had a stable quarterback, I'm thinking if he had Carson Wentz, he'll have better numbers. But right now, the Eagles are really they're a few years away from being competitive again.
Yep. Cool. And then another top 10 receiver. We're just gonna hit all the receivers this week in rookie recap. Ja'Marr Chase. Now, just off the bat, since I did stats for Devontae Smith, in case you're wondering who Devontae Smith is tied with for receptions, it's Ja'Marr Chase at 39th in the league. But here's where it gets interesting. Top 5 pick, 4th in yards, 4th in touchdowns, and 2nd in yards per catch. Ja'Marr Chase is got 4 TDs in the past 3 weeks and seems to be Joey B's favorite target. I'm just going to throw this out there that I think Cleveland hit the gold mine with Ja'Marr Chase.
Since I really love Ja'Marr Chase coming out of LSU.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted him over Jalen Waddle. He is that prototypical bigger receiver that can get the ball, stretch the field. Joe Burrow
blocking too.
Yeah. Cincinnati, by the way. Excuse me. Apparently, I said Cleveland. Sorry, Cincinnati.
It's all good. Joe Burrow has the big arm. I like Joe Burrow too. I think he has that swagger. He's going to. This is a connection. This is reminding me of Andy Dalton and AJ Green all over again.
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
Let's not forget, like, Joey B and Ja'Marr Chase were pretty tight in that 2019 national championship run. So they got that experience together. I think it's only going up for Ja'Marr Chase here.
Yeah. No, but he's such a great example because the situation that the Bengals are in is, I think, way better. I love a lot all the moves the team's made. Obviously, Joe Burrow, he's fantastic, but working on shoring up the line with the injury and all of that other stuff is also good. But being able to give him weapons like this, Ja'Marr Chase comes into a great situation. They know that they have their quarterback. I think we can all conclusively say Joe Burrow's definitely starting caliber. At worst, and at best, he should be the future of the Bengals for a good while. But so coming into a team with that, where you're talking about the rapport they have, the camaraderie, no, it's awesome. And watching Ja'Marr Chase play is very fun. That was a very good game. Lots of fun highlights.
Yeah,
it was.
God, they're 4-2. Like, the Cleveland silently, and I mean silently, in all aspects of the word, putting together a really good season, because no one's talking about the fact that Cleveland's 4-2. We're getting bits of people talking about Ja'Marr Chase and bits of people talking about
Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, they're Cincinnati. Is that not who I just said?
You said Cleveland. It's all good. You really need Cleveland to do.
The C-City team names aren't all that bad anymore.
Listen, I was looking at our next talking point. Cincinnati, whatever. Cincinnati's putting together quietly putting together a great season. Because everyone's talking about Joey B and everyone's talking about Ja'Marr Chase, but they're not talking about the team as a whole that is kicking butt. I mean, Joe Mixon's silently, slowly but surely putting together a good season himself. So, I mean, Joe Mixon, you got to talk about a guy that's putting everything together. He's fourth in the league in yards, so not bad. Speaking of Cincinnati and Cincinnati, let's go to our games of the week for next week. We got Cincinnati taking on Baltimore. I'm just gonna be honest. This is my game of the week. I think you had a division matchup. Cincy surging, and I put while Lamar had a pretty bad game because in all aspects of it he did right. What Lamar do we get? Do we get Lamar that has to rely on his running game, or do we get Lamar that balled out like he did against the Colts?
I think the added pressure brings peak Lamar back out. I think that he's going to recognize that this game is not going to be quite like last week's. And I don't think they're going to be running the ball as well as they were again last week. And I do think that the Bengals are going to be able to really bring it to them. I expect that passing attack to be very strong. So, yeah. I think Lamar Jackson's going to step it up a little bit.
Yeah. We'll say this. The Bengals are only giving up 90 yards a game. So a little bit tougher of a team to go up against for Baltimore. All right, let's get into it. Baltimore -6. They're playing in Baltimore. Who are we taking here?
I am taking Baltimore, and I'm taking the over.
Over's at 47, by the way.
Yeah, I'm taking the over.
I love this. I love this matchup for the underdog pick. I do. I think as far as a game where it's both teams are so good. They look so strong, and this very, very young, very talented Bengals team. Like I want to take the Ravens because Lamar. Like I can't doubt him. I have him up on a pedestal. I think he belongs up there. But this game could certainly turn a lot of heads by the time the result comes through.
Yeah. I'm taking Cincy. I know this isn't probably going to be most people's favorite picks, but like I said, I got a lot of faith in Cincy. They're doing all the right things at the right time. They're surging right now,
Yeah, they could certainly win the game.
And as we all know, divisional games, you take everything you know about both teams and throw them out the window because no matter who's playing, it could go either way. With that being said, also next week we have Denver versus Cleveland. Both teams currently skidding, if you will. They are sliding down a mountain and there's not a break on the machine that they're on, but they're both hurt. Is this the last chance for both teams to right their ships? Like if they lose, whoever loses this game, can they still turn it around, or is this kind of a sign of things to come for the rest of the season?
I think if you're the Browns, this has to be, you have to try to turn this into a game that doesn't like blow up out of hand, like because you probably should have somebody that's not Baker Mayfield taking your snaps because you don't want his arm to fall off and then not be able to play the rest of the season. But with all the other injuries though, it's like what are the good moves? All the offenses are super banged up. I don't know. I think both teams are just hoping to get out of this game without more injuries. Honestly, I don't know that the performance is going to say too much about the rest of the year because it's again, like you said, both very banged up teams.
Dang.
I think Denver is going to pull this one out. It's going to be an ugly game. I think this is going to be a low scoring. It might end up being a field goal to win it. I don't like these two teams right now. I don't like the direction they're in. But if you had for me to pick one, it's gonna be Denver.
Yeah, we got Cleveland -3.5. You taking Denver with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
What about you, Nate?
With the under.
I still take Cleveland. I think that unit overall, I think that they're in a place now where everybody there should be confident enough that they can at least try to game manage without all their starters.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be a toss-up, but I'm going to take Denver +3.5, but I'm going to take the over. I think this is going to be more of a shootout with so many people hurt. The ball's just going to be going every direction. It's just going to be going, it's just going to be crazy. Listen, this last game I kind of just threw in there because of who's playing who. I don't expect it to really be that fair of a game. But we got the Rams taking on the winless Lions in Detroit. So already in week 7, Matt Stafford gets to return home. Okay. Let's just go ahead and pick this. It's the Rams -15. Are we all taking the Rams?
Yeah.
You said -15?
Yeah.
Whew. I thought you missed a decimal point. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
At no point have I ever had faith in Goff, and Stafford looks amazing. Now, this should be brutal.
Let's take this a step further in terms of like prop betting. Matt Stafford over 500 yards.
I take the under. I take the over for the total score of the game because it's 50.5. Because I think the Rams are going to score 45 points alone by themselves.
Sure,
So
yeah. You know what? Sure, yeah, I believe you've convinced me. Yes.
Over 500 yards passing. I say 5 touchdowns. I say 5 touchdowns.
What do I have to lose? What do I have to lose?
Nothing. We're not even putting real money on
Why
this.
not? Why not obliterate them? Why not have Matt Stafford send the Lions to the Shadow Realm? Why not?
Hey, what's funny is I actually agree. I think Stafford's going to throw for 505. 500 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Man, I think he's gonna throw for 5 touchdowns, but not over 500 yards passing because it's gonna be out of hand by the second quarter. Then he's gonna sit.
No, they're not. When has Matt Stafford ever been sat whenever a game's out of control?
Well, this one coming up. Like, this is gonna be horrible.
Yeah, I think Jared Goff's probably gonna throw for 400 yards himself in this one, if he's alive after Aaron Donald eats him. Because he might. But with that being said, that's the games of the week. And that's week 6 of the regular season. We're done with 6 episodes already.
Look at us.
Phenomenal.
Hey, look at us. Who'd have thought?
I love this. We did leave out something from week 6. And just because I did get hit up offline about it, and I'm going to show them love. We can talk about the Packers. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers for just a quick second.
Okay.
This
Oh
man,
my God.
He's doing it. This is a bad man right here. He's gotten 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He is doing it, and he's talking trash to the fans. I love it. I can't. He's playing Washington this week. He's probably going to talk about them and their emails. And keep it going, Aaron Rodgers. Keep it going. I like it. And then the return of Jameis Winston.
Okay, no.
The return of Zach Wilson.
So on that note, look, back to Aaron Rodgers. So there's a video, and everyone who's listening, you need to go watch it or Google it. Don't disrespect the belt or something like that. I'll find it. I'll give it to the guys uploading the podcast, and I'll put the link in there. But very early on in the game against Chicago, Aaron Rodgers was sacked, and whoever sacked him did the belt gesture, like
Discount
Aaron Rodgers does.
check.
Yeah. Well, it's called like don't mock the belt. That's what it was. Because after that happened is whenever Green Bay went on a rampage and Aaron Rodgers got all of his touchdowns. And then it ends with Aaron Rodgers doing the belt, like the biggest, like big gold belt from WCW in the 90s, and looking in the stands and going, "I own you." And
it was amazing. It was beautiful.
Yes.
I laughed. I cried. I aged 5 years.
He deserves an Oscar.
He said it was directed towards the lady who gave him the double bird. And the fact is, like, he says that. I love his character. I love that the NFL mics up these players so we can see their true feeling. He doesn't care. And that's what's so fun about watching Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't really care about the organization. He's just going out there and just playing football. It's him and Brady are so fun to watch because you can tell they're at the end of their careers and they just don't care. They say whatever they want to.
Yeah, I love it. Well, that being said, brings us to the end of week 6. Thank you, gentlemen, for both of you for joining me again this week, and we will talk again next week. I'm sure we'll have plenty of conversations about Jameis Winston.
Let's go, Monday Night Football, Jameis!
I can't wait.
Ty Johnson breakout game. Let's go.
I can't wait for him to throw 6 picks. With that being said, thanks for listening. If you are listening to us after the fact, make sure to tune in every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/RD Sports. You can follow all of us on Twitter. You have Anthony is BigAntsGaming. Nate is Nathanias, and I'm Nelstar15. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next week.